taking a step back, and this is probably even more important than what happens on the night. What can you do outside of the runs to prepare for the runs? And the big thing really is just consistency. Okay, so someone who can run consistently 3 times a week and give themselves anything between a 6 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10 on a consistent basis in terms of intensity of the runs that they're doing is going to progress a lot more organically and without injury. They're going to have a much better chance of progressing through the program than someone who runs maybe once a week, sometimes twice a week, but they're really smashing themselves and often find themselves with niggles. So consistency really is key. Okay. And it's not just consistency with your running, but consistency with all the good stuff. Okay, so the good stuff being the injury prevention work, rolling, releasing tension in your muscles. Injury is probably the most common thing to stop people from attending runs, and it doesn't have to be an accidental injury. It can be just something that slowly gets a little bit worse and a little bit worse, like a knee or a calf, and each week you think, oh no, it'll be all right, and you ignore it and you do nothing, and then all of a sudden it gets to the point where you're like, actually this hurts too much to run on, I better just stop running. Okay, that's not consistent in any way. That's like, it's just bad. It's going to lead you down a bad road. We'd rather that you are consistently addressing any niggles that you get so that you nip them in the bud early and they don't get a chance to interrupt the frequency of training. 2 runs a week is good, 3 runs a week is fantastic. I mean, if everyone was running 3 times a week, especially those of you who have struggled to keep up and progress to the next group, at the end of a 10-week program, I think if you find that if you were regularly able to hit 3 good runs a week, then you'd find it a lot easier to step into the next pace group. So to go with that, and preventing injuries and stopping you from having to have a rest through pain, strength training is massive. Okay, so running, it kind of strengthens you up, but it's more, most of us would think of running as cardio. It does prevent some problems if you do it consistently, and build yourself up slowly. But there are a lot of pains and niggles that you can get which running will not fix. Okay, it'll actually just make it worse if you keep running on it. So, and I've talked about releasing tension, so that can prevent a lot of injuries as well. But sometimes the injuries, the pains that we get is due to a lack of strength, and it's more strength which is about controlling contractions. So if you imagine each time that your foot hits the ground, all the muscles up through your legs and a lot of muscle through your core and even the muscles up the back, they're all stopping you from collapsing in a heap. Okay, and they're all trying to do it as efficiently as possible, but a lot of the time they're not really doing it all that efficiently, and a lot of times there are weak links in that chain, and running is not strengthening them up. So that's why we're big fans of strength training. Ideally, you would all be doing some sort of strength work in between your runs. The ideal would be 2 times a week, but some people would prefer to do more often and little, so maybe 20 minutes 4 or 5 times a week, 10 minutes more often a week. Just depends on your lifestyle. So I really would encourage you to get involved with the strength and conditioning program that I mentioned on Tuesday night. Some of you won't have heard about that yet, but when you start getting emails about it, do just opt into it. It's not going to cost any more than the monthly memberships, and it will just be a massive benefit. It's kind of like having a personal trainer, but you'll be seeing people in a small group instead of one-to-one. Not that one-to-one is completely unavailable, but it just costs a lot more. So yeah, strength, really important, and that's for preventing injuries, providing consistency, but also for improving performance. Okay, so we don't just improve our strength to stop our body collapsing in a heap. We do it so that when we then push off the ground, the muscles are stronger and they're able to do that with a lot less effort. Okay, stronger muscles are going to enable you to propel yourself forward a lot more powerfully than weak muscles. Okay, so a lot of running coaches would say that it's purely down to the running training that you do, which is going to enable you to run faster. And yes, it probably plays a bigger role, but strength still plays a big role. These days, professional runners are doing strength work. They can't keep up with everyone else if they're not doing some sort of a performance program. Okay, and the whole point of our strength and conditioning program is to start people off with an injury prevention type focus, but once they've done a few weeks with that, then to build them into more performance training, so that we've covered off the injury prevention. Now we're going to build on performance, so it will go from injury prevention exercises, stability, and high reps, to then into more heavier type training, which is going to recruit more muscles and make each contraction a lot more powerful. And then we eventually would move into more explosive training. You might have heard of plyometrics, where it includes jumping and things like that. That stuff's proven to increase performance a lot more than your higher rep, lower weight type exercise for all athletes.